Now, given that the Star Wars slate is very complex right now, we have, yes, the Ahsoka Tano series launching by the end of August. Followed by that, we have Skeleton Crew for the holiday season. And beyond that, the main show for 2024 is The Acolyte by Leslie Headland. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into exactly what's going on with Kathleen Kennedy and how she recently got into a lot of trouble with the Disney higher-ups, the board, Bob Iger, etc., and what it really means for her upcoming projects like The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew and a whole lot more associated with those two shows. Now, we know that Kathleen Kennedy has been a pretty much force of nature and not in the good sense, destroying everything in her path. We have seen what she has done with the sequel trilogy, what she has done with the Dial of Destiny, the last Indiana Jones movie, and let's not forget about the Willow series of how that was once again another prime example that anything that Kathleen Kennedy touches comes to ruin. Now, looking into this further, we know that Kathleen Kennedy did a lot of shady things with Indiana Jones, the Dial of Destiny. Now, we're going to be getting into a lot of this and how it has created a lot of consequences for herself over at Lucasfilm and what it really means for some of the Star Wars projects coming to light. Now, we know that, of course, everything related to John and Dave, Favreau and Filoni, they really are trying to make Ahsoka like the home run of Disney Plus Star Wars. Whether or not they're even going to be able to pull that off is a big question open on the table for discussion. But anyway, moving onwards. With Kathleen Kennedy endlessly attempting to dismantle George Lucas's Star Wars with some of the upcoming shows, one major development surrounding Kennedy has much to do with how she recently got herself into major trouble with Disney's higher-ups after what happened with new truths related to the Dial of Destiny. Now, behind closed doors, Kennedy is facing many issues from Disney due to the fact that she overfunded Indy 5 for tons of scenes that ended up getting deleted, and that now, as a result of that, the major reshoots planned for Skeleton Crew, a Star Wars TV show, aimed to release by this November, is being cancelled by the board and Iger as a result of what Kennedy did with Indy 5. So the reshoots for that show are being axed. Kennedy's plan was to reshoot around 20% of Skeleton Crew if the strikes came to a close, which would have actually delayed the series until March of 2024 instead of November and or December of 2023. However, now Disney is taking that completely off the table because of her mishandling of the Dial of Destiny. Additionally, the board and Iger are also completely limiting options for the reshoots planned for The Acolyte and are drastically reducing the funding of those reshoots planned after the strikes came to a close. So that's what she ultimately was planning to do. Let me just pause here for a second, is that she was planning on reshooting around 20% of Skeleton Crew, reworking, of course, everything that happened with Pedro Pascal. We talked about this before in the past. And what's going on with The Acolyte is also a very big, troublesome scenario, because there are still reshoots on the table for The Acolyte, but as a response from Disney about how Kennedy mishandled Indy 5, those reshoots now have been slashed by 50%. So that just goes to show you that this show could also get delayed because the writer's strike and everything happening with SAG is still going on to this day. And reshoots are going to be impossible unless those lift, Unless those end. And she's doubling down on those reshoots, herself and Leslie Headland. They want to make that happen because they want to make specific sequences actually get inserted into The Acolyte. And that only way of doing that and making that actually happen is through the reshoots. Now, the problem with the Dial of Destiny is that she did do exactly just that. She literally requested Disney an extra $100 million for that movie to fulfill a ton of different scenes, many of which involved, the de-aging of Harrison Ford for the second and yes, even the third acts in the movie. A lot of it had to do with time travel, some of which had to do with flashbacks. It was very weird stuff going on. And all of those scenes got axed. They all got canceled and deleted, left on the cutting room floor. And, well, to say the least, Disney was not very happy about that. It was $100 million that went to complete waste, and it wasn't just about de-aging stuff, it also had a lot to do with test footage, partially shot sequences that were not complete, that went into the garbage, and that just goes to show you why Indy 5 was a production in hell, as I like to call it. Moving onwards here, however. Now, though the Acolyte reshoots are still a go, the funding for it reportedly was slashed by half, which is canceling out many plans and concepts both Kathy and Leslie Headland actually aim to provide for the show ahead of its April 2024 release date, which may or may not get delayed as of right now because of the reshoots and how they aren't established in time. Growing members of the board are now calling for Kathleen Kennedy's removal as president at Lucasfilm, while others, of course, are heavily defending her position as president of Lucasfilm. It's gotten so bad to the point for the Acolyte test screening that now Disney has even considered making the Acolyte a non-canon series, much like the Vision series for the Star Wars universe. And that is an ongoing discussion happening right now between the board as a possibility if things keep getting worse. Now, Kennedy already has gotten into argumentative conversations with Disney about their latest decisions with her projects, Skeleton Crew and The Acolyte. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about Kathleen Kennedy. She is 100% the worst example of a producer that has ruined 3 franchises. If you really even want to count Willow as a franchise, whatever. She still destroyed another Lucasfilm property. 3 Lucasfilm properties that came to ruin: Star Wars, Willow, and Indiana Jones. All of which are wrecked, and John and Dave are carrying this intense weight to course correct it. Now, I've said this before. There's a lot of mixed reactions, and when I mean a lot, I mean a lot, for the Ahsoka Tano series, based on their final trailer that they debuted not too long ago. And the numbers aren't looking good as far as analytics go. There's not a lot of people tuning into that trailer. It's not really even meeting Mandalorian trailer standards or even sequel trilogy movie standards, and that really makes you wonder, have people really tuned out of Star Wars? Have people been losing interest? Most likely, yes. To a degree, absolutely. I think a lot of people are very skeptical about what Ahsoka is really going to be all about and exactly how it's going to be executed on screen and whether or not it's going to resonate. A lot of people are very skeptical about this after Mando Season 3 really tanked the series, and that's why John and Dave are essentially resetting the franchise, or the show I should say, with Season 4 to kind of bring things back to the bare bones. So anyway, guys, I would like to hear your overall opinion and take on everything happening between Kathleen Kennedy and the cutbacks on Skeleton Crew reshoots and the Acolyte reshoots, and how Skeleton Crew reshoots are now completely canceled because of what Kennedy did with Indy 5. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
From night to moon we hear